Florida. So much to talk about. Oh my gosh, Trump signing executive orders. If we get the tape in time, we'll send that to you. Trump did his first cabinet meeting today. It was massive. A lot of questions were asked. We'll break some of that down later. And one more thing, I'll be on the Rumble chat while we talk right here during the show. People are like, is that really you? Yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to follow the chat. Of course I am. I want you to join us. This show is all about you being part of this show. That's a difference. That's what we can do here. All right, I seriously don't understand how people can still watch The View anymore. Their analysis gets worse by the day. They completely flubbed the last election, and their latest take on Trump may be one of their worst ever.
I think this president, unfortunately, perhaps either doesn't understand geopolitics and doesn't understand the importance of having allies and the importance of our allyship, or perhaps there is a reason why, to your point, Joy, that he is so enthralled with Russia. Again, he just doesn't understand geopolitics in the way that a president should, but we kind of knew that before,
what is
right?
He owe Putin? Maybe he owes something to Putin.
So, Sonny, let me get this straight, Sonny Hostin. Trump doesn't know geopolitics the way he should, or the way you do, Sonny Hostin, who's a lawyer from New York. You think you got it over Trump, who's literally negotiated us out of bad treaties, negotiating us out of, furthermore, NATO bad treaties, or making it more equitable for us to be involved in it. The guy who's getting our products into different countries at a much lower rate for our producers of products. That's what the whole tariff argument's all about. Not about how much we're paying. We may pay a little bit more, but our products will be better. Our business environment will be more. Our economy will be stronger. Our businesses will make more money. Trump knows geopolitics more than any politician I've seen, maybe in my lifetime. I mean, literally in my lifetime. And then he's smart enough to pick Marco Rubio to be his Secretary of State. Phenomenal choice for Secretary of State. And all those people like you, Sonny, and Joy Behar, and Whoopi, who's called Trump a racist. His top foreign policy man, Marco Rubio, is Hispanic. Stop it with your racism crap. Stop playing the race card, racists. We got plenty more to discuss. So as always, let's react. All righty, so Joy Reid is out over at MSNBC. We know that. But has anyone seen who the network has now added to its lineup of misfits? So let me introduce you to one, Eugene Daniels. Look at that guy right there. This, I don't even know what it, I don't want to offend Eugene. Is it Jeannie, as in he identifies as a gal, because I think he's wearing a skirt there or something. He's got a little fan. Or a dude, with those leggings, what the heck he's got going on there. This guy will be joining MSNBC, I kid you not, as a weekend host, presumably absorbing some of the newly freed salary cap money created by bouncing Joy Reid. Daniels, that guy right there, a former Politico correspondent, no less, is reportedly Kamala Harris, an expert in Kamala Harris, whatever that means. I mean, doesn't really take a lot to be an expert in Kamala Harris, right? She's black, she's a female, and she's elected, and that's about it. The rest is an empty suit. And this guy's also known to be a walking Beyonce encyclopedia. MSNBC, what are you trying to do? You get rid of Joy Reid, the biggest racist on the planet. Okay, fine, smart, good move. But then you're replacing it with, you think this guy is going to be, he's going to reach out to your centrist Democrats or your independents or maybe your liberal-leaning Republicans that you're trying to get? You're moving in the wrong direction, my friends. But by all means, continue failing, because your failure is our success. We'll take all your viewers, all your independent viewers, at least the ones with common sense. Well, moving on to one of my favorites of all time, Congresswoman Jasmine Jazzy Jazz Crockett, who kept it short when asked what she would say to Elon Musk if she had the chance to speak directly to him. Roll it.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
F off.
That's it.
Well, nice, right? We pay her $174,000 a year. She's a U.S. Congresswoman from Texas, who, by the way, also is cheering for Mexico and Canada to beat Donald Trump in the trade wars. That didn't go so well for her. Well, that's an incredible maturity, again, from America's dumbest Congresswoman. Again, Jazzy Jazz, debate. Anytime, your place, my cameras, your topics. What do you say? Of course, Jasmine ignorance didn't stop there. She was all worked up about the spending bill, claiming it wouldn't pass without her help. Notably, she slipped another F-bomb into her very next response. And while she was busy whining and cursing like a toddler outside of Congress, the bill passed with ease.
But we're in the minority. But so long as we stand strong and not one Democrat falters, let me tell you, there are going to be Republicans that don't want to vote for this, and they can't lose more than one vote. So long as we stand together and so long as we're here, and the Republicans, they're dysfunctional. They can't get this done by themselves.
Is this a preview to how Democrats will message leading up to 2026?
So the Republicans are dysfunctional. They can't get it done by themselves while Jazz was out there talking to the press, dropping F-bombs. The Republicans passed the bill. Let's move on to Jake Tapper, one of my favorite guys over at CNN. Well, he's got a new book, Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Decision to Run Again. When I first saw this, I was actually thought, this has got to be a fake, right? This is Babylon Bee, right? This can't be true. Jake Tapper, CNN, one of the three groups, really, because there was broadcast news, ABC, NBC, CBS. Then there was MSNBC, and then there was CNN. Jake Tapper, the biggest cover-up fraudsters in the history of media, covered for Joe Biden all the way up to the point where he decided to pull himself out, or Barack Obama told him get his ass out, off the stage. It's Kamala's turn. But those guys covered up that decline, and Jake wrote a book about it now. I mean, is this comedy? What is it? Is this opposite Monday to read Jake's book? But the fact that Jake Tapper, of all people, would put his name on a cover of a book like that is just insane. In case anyone forgot, here's Jakey going to war over Biden's mental abilities.
I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
you are
to watch somebody on stage search for
it's so amazing. It's so amazing to me
and try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked about a cognitive decline.
So Jake clearly defending Joe Biden's cognitive decline. He could have said, yeah, you're right. There's obvious signs of cognitive decline. I mean, it's insane. But how about a little more from Jakey Boy, who sat down with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and compared today in America to Nazi Germany yet again.
A very stark warning that you're delivering there. Obviously invoking the Holocaust, obviously invoking, a horrible, horrible thing that took the lives of ancestors of yours and ancestors of mine is evocative. I would also think it might be controversial. People might think, how can you possibly compare what happened in Germany in World War II to what's going on here in the United States?
Well, we're talking about the death of a constitutional republic. That's what happened in Germany in 1933, 1934. And we're seeing today that you've got an administration in Washington that's ignoring court orders, literally ignoring when a judge says you can't do this. They're going ahead and doing it anyway.
So again, the comparison to Trump as Hitler and anyone who follows Trump or is a MAGA person as Nazis continues before the election, even leading up to the election, right before Joe Biden jumped out, but then even into the final election with Kamala Harris. Across the board, Joe Scarborough called Trump Hitler, called MAGA Nazis. And then, of course, after the election, Joe and Mika put their tail between their legs, went to Mar-a-Lago, and Trump very wisely slapped them around a little bit and sent them on their way. But in the aftermath of election where they were calling Trump Hitler and MAGA people Nazis, didn't they learn their lesson? Are they still going to do it? That nut job Illinois Governor Pritzker, whose family owns, I believe, either Hyatt or Hilton hotel brands, billionaires, that family, and they're just horribly running Illinois into the ground, Chicago into the ground. People are fleeing that state because of the sanctuary state nature of it. They've learned nothing. They've learned absolutely nothing. And Jake, your journalism card should be ripped out of your hands for writing a book about Biden's cognitive decline. You're part of the problem. You were part of the people hiding that decline, Jake. Don't write a book now and say you saw it coming, didn't agree with the rest of the media. Bull, sorry, almost dropped it. Isn't it funny that Biden's student debt, by the way, that debt relief ignored by the court orders, but Pritzker was over the moon excited about it. These folks don't get it, and they're going to continue to get slammed in elections going forward. I want to take just a minute and remind anyone who's even a shred of doubt that Tom Homan will remove all the illegals in this country. He is not to be messed with or influenced at all by the cries of those deranged liberal media and the politicians. Listen.
As far as the politicians who want to push back and attack the men and women of ICE and myself, I'm not running a popularity contest. I'm out there doing what the president promised the American people we're going to do. We're out there enforcing the law without apology. We're going to keep coming. You can put all the roadblocks you want up. We're going to keep coming. For these sanctuary cities who want to push back and impede us, we'll double the man force there. We'll double worksite enforcement there. We're not going away. We're going to keep coming at them until every criminal, illegal alien gang member, every illegal alien criminal is eradicated from this country. That's when I'll be satisfied.
Yeah, and guess what else I heard today? Trump is signing an order to remove everyone who's illegal from Social Security rolls. Can you imagine that? That is just unbelievable. You know what? Stop the magnet. So the border, right? People want to come from all over the world, especially through our southern border. Stop them because it's a magnet. Our economy is just so robust and so strong, and our way of life is amazing. And we have two of our borders are water borders, which means we are wildly safe and protected. We have an incredible government system, free market. It rocks the world. Our defense is amazing. So people want to come here and live under that. Do it legally. Stop the magnet. Don't let these people come across and compete with our own people for jobs, HB1 visas, right? How about that? And also, remove people from Social Security. If they've been here, I don't care if they've been here a long time. If they're not legals, they're not paying federal income tax, and that's where Social Security is funded from. Stop it. Homan's a good man to stop it. And how about this one? Eric Adams, absolutely incredible, this guy. He really thinks that he's some sort of biblical figure, immune to the consequences for his negligence and his former actions. Listen.
So this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid? I'm running my race right now.
So everyone wants to embrace Eric Adams because he was a staunch Democrat. Let's not forget this is the Eric Adams who defied Trump, called him some really nasty names, some really, really mean things in the first 3 years of the Biden administration. Eric Adams was a staunch defender of sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. He said, bring all the illegals here. We're not sending them back. We'll fight ICE. We'll fight everyone, anyone that wants to pull people out of the city of New York. And it became an absolute dump. It became disgusting. A beautiful hotel, luxury hotel filled up with illegals. They paid $220 million to the government of Pakistan for that hotel. And now all of a sudden, Eric Adams gets investigated by his own party, by Democrats in the Southern District of New York. And now he wants to become a MAGA. He wants Donald Trump's protection. Now he wants it. Folks, you can do this. I did this with Lindy Lee on Piers Morgan's podcast the other night. Lindy Lee was a major, major Kamala Harris advisor, fundraiser, donor. She was all about Kamala Harris up till the election. Day after the election, she says, I've been conservative all along. I'm a Trump conservative. I say be careful. Beware of these people. They're Trojan horses, and they're going to screw you. And the minute Trump's not president anymore, they're back to doing their same old stuff. Voice of God in my ear, MD telling me it's time to go to break. Folks, we'll be right back. That is beautiful, right? Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Look at that marina. Look at that dock. Look at that weather. These are live cams, folks. You got to love South Florida. The only real hard-hitting political show to come out of South Florida, I believe. I'm pretty sure of that. Okay, so a couple more things that I've just been watching Trump do. And again, I've known Trump a very, very long time. True story, he used to call in the first Trump presidency, he used to call me at home. Sometimes it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, phone would ring. It's the White House for you, Mr. President. How you doing? And we'd be talking about whatever. I'm half asleep. Anyway, the guy, he just thinks nonstop. His mind doesn't stop. The reason why I bring that up is this is pretty amazing. The Trump gold card, folks. I'll tell you a little story on the backside of this. Watch.
We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people.
So this is a really, really good idea. The gold card, if you come up with $5 million, it means you're a successful human being for whatever reason. However you did it, you're successful. You buy this gold card and it brings you, it doesn't make you a citizen. It brings you to the front of the line of gaining citizenship to the United States. It's a genius idea. I love this idea. I don't love Howard Lutnick. I hope this is not his, but he said if we get 200,000 buyers of the gold card, that's $1 trillion off the debt. He's right. The numbers are right. It's fantastic. Little story, though, in Trump 1.0, I was like just thinking one day, like why don't you guys do a Trump card and call it, have a credit card called the Trump card. And if you want to give out EBT money, you want to give out assistance, help to underprivileged people in the country, give them a card. They have the EBT cards right now. They're black. Make them gold and make them Trump cards. And so every time someone goes and buys some food with an EBT card, they're pulling out a Trump card. I sent it into the White House. They liked it. It never went anywhere, but they reversed it and flipped it and twisted it into a pretzel and made it something even better. Look at that, Trump $5 million gold card. You will get very, very successful, smart people coming into the country. It doesn't do anything about our regular immigration process. It still happens. These people get to jump the line, and I think this is a wonderful, great idea. Not an elitist, but you want the brightest and the smartest people to come to this country. Staying on the gold theme, listen to this.
We're also going to Fort Knox. I'm going to go with Elon. And would anybody like to join us? Because we want to see if the gold is still there. We want to see.
So this is really, really important. So the idea is Elon Musk has said he wants to go to Fort Knox and find out how much gold is actually in Fort Knox. Now I'll take you through this story. I used to be a gold trader. I was a Wall Street gold trader for many years, 12 years, gold and oil. I spent my whole life trading gold and oil. There's supposed to be 147 million troy ounces of gold in Fort Knox. It's about $500 billion, about $475 billion worth of gold. And back in the day, before we came off the gold standard, every single dollar bill, $100 bill was backed by an ounce of gold. Well, we went off the gold standard and all of a sudden our deficit skyrocketed. But make a long story short, that $500 billion, back then it was worth a lot less, but it's now $3,000 an ounce, worth about $500 billion. But do we know? It hasn't been audited in decades. So Elon says, let's go audit it and find out what's there. Trump's going. I think it's fantastic. You heard him say, does anyone want to go? I've already submitted my request to the White House. I want to go. I want to go see the gold. I would love to see the gold. So Trump, again, working for the American people. Something in media. I love the media. I've been around the media my whole life. Rachel Maddow absolutely disgraced herself and her network after her good buddy, Joy Reid, was sent packing. Truly a miracle she still is employed after this rant. Take a listen.
There is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it.
Couple thoughts here. Couple thoughts. First of all, I come from a place where if I ever spoke about my bosses at Fox or just about any other network I worked at, in that light, calling them out for mistakes they made, and hope you fix it on air. For Fox, they would have they were going to break. Control, the second floor would have called and said go to break. And that would happen just about every single network across the board. You have a right to say that, Rachel, but I find you a hypocrite because you're making $25 million a year for working one night a week. You work Mondays, one night a week, and you're going to get $25 million a year. And by the way, aren't you white? I think you're white. So all this idea of there's only two non-white hosts in all of prime time or whatever she said, and one of them's Joy Reid and she's gone. You can step down. You can step down, Rachel. That'll improve the odds a little bit better. I don't know. Quit being a hypocrite. Anyway, our good friend Megyn Kelly absolutely ripped into Rachel Maddow for this one. Listen.
Really is one of the most, maybe, is she the most annoying people on television. She oozes sanctimony and self-righteousness. And here's the real capper. She took her boss's faces and rubbed them in last night. That's what she did. Rebecca and Mark, do you have any spines whatsoever? Are you actually going to let an employee, that's what she is, Rachel Maddow, talk about you, your company, and your decision-making this way? Mr. Lazarus, do you have any testosterone? Do you have any testicular fortitude to stand up for yourself as a professional and executive, never mind a man, and tell this woman, you're fired too?
You know, I'm just going to leave it right there because Megyn just nailed it, folks. All right, we will be right back. All right. MD, keep that New Smyrna Beach photo. Yeah, look at that video. Look at that, folks. That's live. And let me see the cars on the beach. You can drive on the beach in New Smyrna Beach. It's due east of Orlando, about 40 miles or so. And I know this because I pretty much grew up on that beach right there. Wonderful place. Just a quiet little sleepy little town. It happens to be also the shark bite capital of the world, if I'm not mistaken. But for whatever reason, the jet stream in the water, or whatever it's called, just the Gulf Stream, I guess, where it comes around and heats the water up and brings it real close to shore. So a lot of people get bit there. I never got bit, I can tell you that. All right, James Comey. Well, he's in hot water, honeypot hot water, that is, folks. Could this be the moment we finally see a bad guy getting what's coming to him or her in the swampy world of the D.C. swamp? Because there are those bad guys out there, in the open. We know who they are because they're loud. They can't help themselves. Chuck Schumer, I'm thinking Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff. Liz Cheney, bad lady. Hillary Clinton, bad woman. There are bad players who also have power and also feel empowered that they're above the law. And that's because they're protected by the swamp, by the deep state. Then there are actors who lurk somewhat beneath the surface a little bit. They hide behind a veneer of law and of doing good. But in fact, they're politicized. They're on the wrong side of the law. And they're not at all good people. They hide behind the trust Americans place in the agencies that they work for. Think Anthony Fauci. Think Merrick Garland. Think James Comey. Fauci's gone. Security clearance is gone as well. Thanks for that, Donald Trump. Merrick Garland, that disgrace, Attorney General, former Attorney General, he's gone too. But James Comey, he's not gone. He's very much still around and often has some things to say when he should probably keep his mouth shut. You see, Joe Biden, or rather the commie minions around Joe who protected him, who ran the country at the end of that presidency, they issued a bunch of preemptive pardons for some of the really disgusting and unpatriotic Americans. On that list, his corrupt, money-hungry family, the Bidens, Anthony Fauci got pardoned, and any members of Congress, Republicans, who served on the bogus January 6th investigation committee, but not on that list. James effing Comey. He's one of the absolute worst. It's reckoning time for James Comey, too. And he knew this was coming, didn't he?
Are you concerned that it may get a test unlike any other if Donald Trump is reelected? I mean, when you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans.
Oh, yeah, not just for all Americans, Mr. James Comey, for you. FBI looking into James Comey's off-the-books honeypot operation targeting 2016 Trump campaign, the Washington Times. That's because the FBI will now look into James. By the way, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino's FBI will now look into James Comey's off-the-books operation targeting President Trump's first presidential campaign, 2016. As promised, Kash Patel said he would work to restore faith in the FBI, and this is a good start. It's a big one, folks. You see, as chief investigator for the House probe into Russian interference into the 2016 presidential election, Kash Patel led the effort to uncover FISA abuse. The court, remember, where FBI would have to go to the FISA court to get approval to spy on Americans, and they did that for Trump. And we now know afterwards, 8 years later, that that was illegal, and they were illegally using the FISA court. That's FISA abuse. Well, Comey exposed the Department of Justice unlawful, and Kash Patel exposed it to their unlawful surveilling of Americans, including members of the 2016 Trump campaign. The alleged honeypot investigation is said to be separate from a 2016 FBI investigation. No, we all know this one. Crossfire Hurricane, which investigated whether the Trump campaign was colluding with Russia to influence the outcome of the election. As history goes, Trump fired Comey in May of 2017. Days later, Robert Mueller was appointed as chief counsel, special counsel, to take over Crossfire Hurricane, the probe. And as we all know now, there was no evidence of any Russian collusion. The FBI is reportedly starting an investigation into the allegations that James Comey-led FBI launched a honeypot operation to infiltrate the 2016 Trump campaign with 2 of its female FBI agents. Honeypot, get it? Remember when President Trump told us this happened?
So the biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign.
There's no real evidence of that.
Of course there is.
No.
It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
So a little anecdotal story right there. That was a 60 Minutes interview. That was October of 2016, 2 weeks before the election, 2019. I'm sorry, 2 weeks before the 2020 election. Trump sat for that interview. I had a full town hall hour with Trump that was going to tape right after that. He was so ticked off. He was livid at Leslie Stahl's in 60 Minutes. He was stomping around. The Oval Office was right next to the Rose Garden. We were doing the interview in the Rose Garden. He was fuming mad. I thought he wasn't going to sit down for the interview for the town hall. And to his credit, he did and answered questions of all the folks. But anyway, he was ticked off at Leslie Stahl. And by the way, she was wrong. She was absolutely wrong. Anyway, so the FBI was looking into an alleged 2015 operation, which was revealed by a whistleblower to the House Judiciary Committee last year, involving 2 agents acting as honeypots while traveling with the Trump team. This is it's like a novel. It's the stuff you only see in movies, or at least you're only supposed to see in movies. Honeypots typically refer to undercover agents who act romantically interested in a target to draw information out of them. That's right. This stuff is like in the movies, or so we thought. And I'm reading, FBI investigating James Comey's alleged plan to infiltrate Trump campaign with honeypot agents, says the Daily Wire. The whistleblower claims it was an off-the-books investigation targeting Trump, who was a candidate at the time, and the whistleblower claims that Comey personally ordered and directed the honeypots to go after the Trump campaign shortly after Trump announced his run for president back in 2015. These 2 female agents were allegedly inserted into high levels of the Trump campaign to act as honeypots and to travel with Trump and his campaign staff, but reportedly the investigation was closed because a media outlet took a photo of one of the agents and was about to publish it. According to the whistleblower, employees who knew about it were directed never to discuss the operation with anyone again. And new FBI Director Kash Patel is looking for those very honeypots. I'm glad he is. We all are, because it's time for truth and redemption. It's the only way to even begin to restore trust in the FBI. And James Comey has proven time and time again that he is politicized. And given his history, we certainly shouldn't put it past him to carry out something like this honeypot FBI story. Does anyone remember when in 2018, James Comey bragged about sending 2 FBI agents to the Trump White House to ambush General Michael Flynn?
It's hard to imagine 2 FBI agents ending up in the sit room. How did that happen?
I sent them. Something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with in a more organized investigation, a more organized administration, in the George W. Bush administration, for example, or the Obama administration. The protocol, 2 men that all of us have perhaps increased appreciation for over the last 2 years. And in both of those administrations, there was process.
So that guy's sitting there in front of a group in public, bragging about weaponizing his own FBI to ambush and then later frame General Flynn. You see, firing these criminals like him, like Comey, just isn't good enough. Restoring faith in our institutions requires real accountability. And that means perp walks, folks, prosecutions. I'd love to see Comey in handcuffs, wouldn't you? You know, kind of like the one James Comey refused to carry out with then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in 2016. Comey said that the FBI can't find a case that would bring criminal charges to Hillary even after she was caught bleaching hundreds of emails and sent them to registered sex offenders with Anthony Weiner in an attempt to cover her own tracks. Listen.
Although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. Prosecutors necessarily weigh a number of factors before deciding whether to bring charges. There are obvious considerations like the strength of the evidence, especially regarding intent, Responsible decisions also consider the context of a person's actions and how similar situations have been handled in the past. In looking back at our investigations into the mishandling or removal of classified information, we cannot find a case that would support bringing criminal charges on these facts.
That guy spends 13 minutes talking about how Hillary Clinton had over 30,000 emails on her private servers, how those emails were then susceptible to outside bad actors, and how much of the keeping and sending of those classified emails by her and her staff were questionable. And then he tells the American people straight up that, no, we won't charge her. And by the way, politics had no bearing on his decision whatsoever. Wink, 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 right? Any person who spent 15 minutes with a security clearance knows just how criminal her behavior was. And this, the worst, most egregious, most despicable, most heinous crime in the U.S. history was and is the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, yet not a single person has ever been punished for that horrific crime.
CNN has learned this hour that the former FBI Director James Comey was aware that a critical piece of information in the Hillary Clinton email investigation was fake.
Ruh-roh. I'm sure Cash and Dan and Pam Bondi are looking at that little thing right there. James Comey is one of the architects of a distrustful FBI. He took something sacred away from the American people, our trust. And the only way to restore that is by placing a cost on that so it doesn't happen again. Comey, the cost you're about to pay, it's time. You get what's coming to you. We'll be right back. Beautiful Miami. Only about hour and a half from here, maybe. 90 minutes or so. All right, folks. In 2021, Goya launched Goya Care as a global initiative to protect children and educate them on mental health. Goya Care is providing schools and community centers with a preventative education curriculum and a free assembly that includes the viewing of Goya Care's Press Pause, a short film. Press Pause is intended to raise awareness regarding mental health issues, abuse, and bullying among children, teens, and in our communities. Press Pause is an educational film following 15-year-old Sofia Rodriguez as she navigates adolescence, self-doubt, and an abusive relationship amid her parents' turbulent divorce set within the cultural context of her Hispanic family. The film explores her discomfort with unwanted attention from her uncle and the pressures of maintaining a facade of perfection in high school. It introduces Press Pause campaign promoting kindness and advocacy, highlighted by Sofia leaving a note saying, "You matter," for a bullied peer. The film encourages open family communication about mental health and culminates in Sofia's transformative realization of her right to seek help through the power of empathy and small acts of kindness. Press Pause displays the importance of being proactive in supporting one's community and underscores the critical importance of self-advocacy. All right, let's file this one under things nobody needs. Gavin Newsom, California governor, well, he's launching a podcast. No, seriously, he really is.
We need to change the conversation. And that's why I'm launching a new podcast. And this is going to be anything but the ordinary politician podcast. I'm going to be talking to people directly that I disagree with, as well as people I look up to. But more important than anything else, I'll be talking directly with you, the listener. Real conversations. What's going on with the cost of eggs? What are the impacts, real impacts to you around tariffs? What power does an executive order really have? And what's really going on inside of Doge? Look, there's an onslaught of information that we take in. So let's take it to the sources without the typical political mumbo jumbo.
Don't you think Gavin should be worrying about his own economy? I mean, he took a thriving California economy, a $10 billion surplus, put it into a $20 billion deficit. I think you should be worrying about that, not playing around with podcasts, Governor. And you say anything but the ordinary politician, not the typical political mumbo jumbo, your words. Are you freaking kidding us with this? Newsom faces backlash after attending French Laundry dinner. Politico. Political mumbo jumbo, like, say, I don't know, throwing a maskless party at a fancy, I'm going to say fancy, it's called French Laundry. It's $400 a plate dinner in that restaurant. It's the most expensive restaurant in the country during COVID, right in the middle of COVID, as a matter of fact, while forcing your whole state's population to endure draconian lockdowns and masks and school closings and business closings. Or like lying about the state of the water supply during some of the most devastating wildfires the state of California has ever seen.
What is the situation with the water? Obviously, in Palisades, ran out last night in the hydrants. I was talking to the firefighter on this block. They left because there was no water in the hydrant here.
The local folks are trying to figure that out. I mean, just when you have a system that's not dissimilar to what we've seen in other extraordinarily large-scale fires, whether it be pipe, electricity, or whether it just be the complete overwhelm of the system.
Well, Gavin, here's your truth bomb, my friend. Gavin Newsom is launching a podcast where he will never tell the truth. What's going on with the cost of eggs? I'll tell you what's going on with the cost of eggs, Gavin. Your former supreme leader caused massive inflation and then killed a bunch of chickens for fear of bird flu. I can't believe I have to say this to you, but nobody wants this podcast. Not knowing, not nowhere, and not know how. We just got rid of one bumbling communist idiot with Joy Reid finally bowing out in disgrace, booted from a network that still thinks Jen Psaki's ideas don't stink. Who's going to say something else? We're finally losing members of the legacy media. The leftist machines, media soldiers of propaganda are falling off one by one, dropping like flies. Americans are tired of listening to the lies, Gav. And now the world has to endure a podcast with Governor Gavin Newsom. How about fixing forest management in your own state? Or how about fixing water management so everything people own doesn't burn to the ground and we, the taxpayer, have to spend our money to build it back up? Or fixing the massive deficit you created, like I just said a minute ago, or massive homelessness crisis you were supposed to fix years ago. No, actually, Gavin says, nah, You know what I've got to offer instead? A podcast featuring me and my hair gel. The truth is not exactly Gavin's forte, like when he lied right to the face of a petrified citizen worried about her own house.
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the
Why
call.
is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it.
Cell-service.
Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry.
So in case you didn't catch that, folks, he was literally telling the woman he's on the phone with the president right now. He says, I'm literally talking to the president right now, Joe Biden. And then when she says, well, look, let me talk to him. And he's like, oh, hold on. A minute later, he's like, oh, there's no cell service here. I'm on the phone with the president right now. I mean, I'm not on the phone with the president right now. I will be, but I'm not right now because there's no cell service, because I'm lying to you, lady. He lied about the water issue, the lack of preparedness. That's who Gavin Newsom is. That's his political mumbo jumbo. The world has already seen plenty of Gavin in action, seeing a character study in narcissistic, sociopathic behavior. Actually, we should just call it Democrat behavior, whatever. Poor Gavin wanted everyone to know that he's a victim in all of that. During those tragic wildfires, he was upset. He was angry. He wants answers. So as LA burned to the ground, he went on a Lib podcast to do brand PR crisis for who? The people of California? No, for himself.
I want to know the answers. So I'm the governor of California. I want to know the answer. I've got that question. I can't tell you about how many people, what happened. My own team saying what happened, and I want to get the answers. And when I wasn't getting, I'll be candid with you, wasn't getting straight answers.
Yeah.
I watched the press conference. I met with some of those leaders. We had my team start talking to local leaders, saying what's going on. Our state,
and you weren't getting straight answers from.
I was getting different answers. When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story, and they're assessing it, and I get that as well. You have to have a little bit of grace. Back to the point, we're in this emergency environment and everything else. So I just want to determine the facts, but no one has any patience anymore in this weaponized. Back to the grievance of Trump, everyone else. There's immediate.
No, not my fault. Gavin's the victim. It's never Gavin's fault. That's who he is. That's Gavin's political mumbo jumbo. Gavin Newsom used taxpayer dollars to roll out the red carpet, pardon the pun, for the Chinese Communist Party, remove the hundreds of homeless people. Again, a major problem he promised to resolve years ago. Remember this, Gavin Newsom?
We believe fundamentally that food solves hunger, that shelters solve sleep, and that housing solves homelessness. And if we're going to solve the problem of those that are out on the streets that we define as homeless, we better solve the housing problem if we're going to have an impact. And that's why we established this framework, what we call a 10-year plan to end chronic homelessness in San Francisco.
So that was Gavin in 2008, a plan to solve homelessness within the decade since Newsom became governor. He spent $24 billion to end the homeless crisis. And the result, homelessness has increased by 40%. $24 billion increased it by almost 40% increase. That's Gavin Newsom's Politico mumbo jumbo. Is there anything more tone deaf than launching a podcast to change the conversation right after your state has been decimated by one of the worst natural disasters California has ever seen? Thousands and thousands of people lost everything they had. This guy is going to sit in front of a microphone with Harry, the artist formerly known as Prince, and Meghan Markle. And just one more thing on this. You know, Gavin's been promising to come on this show and my show for months. I just texted him this morning. Hey, Governor, time for you to walk the walk now. You've been promising me for an interview for months. You've been talk the talk. Now walk the walk. Come on, let's have this conversation. Let's have a conversation about who's really responsible for the high price of eggs, Gov. Come, let's see what the truth is like, I say. I agree. We don't need to change the conversation. Gavin, come by and have a conversation with me right here on Bolling. it out. Check it out. Check it out. West Palm Beach, a beautiful roof cam making a spin around that gorgeous Florida sky. Almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon, probably 80 degrees, no humidity, nice breeze. Wonderful, wonderful West Palm Beach. All right, folks, have you seen the news from economists forecasting a depression, not just a recession, an actual depression by the year 2030? We're in a perfect storm as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point with the largest generation hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. Pair that with our growing national debt and rising cost of living, we have a big problem. So what are you doing now to protect your family for the future? Gold is a safe haven in hard economic times. And Birch Gold, our friends at Birch Gold, they make it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text America to 989898. Get your free info kit on gold and a copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era, with a foreword by none other than Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, only information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. You can count on them too. Text America to the number 989898 today. All right. I used to be a gold trader. I spent better part of a decade and a half trading gold and oil in New York, and gold has been nothing but the most unbelievably perfect inflation hedge. Everyone should have gold in their portfolio. All right, folks, you saw this yesterday. We talked about it a little bit. There's a reason we're going to play it again. Caroline Leavitt made that announcement yesterday saying that the White House press pool would now be determined by the administration. Listen.
As you all know, for decades, a group of D.C.-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore.
So this is a really good thing. If you remember the first term, Trump would go to the press and these clowns, Jim Acosta and whatnot, would stand up and they wouldn't want to ask questions for the American people. They were trying to make a name for themselves. They would stand up and just fight with Trump for the heck of it, just to make a name for develop their own careers, so to speak. So I for one, by the way, I was a White House Correspondent Association, WHCA associate member. I got my membership taken away from me the week Joe Biden went into the White House. They took it away from me. So this whole idea that somehow Trump shouldn't be able to do this, Biden did it. He did it himself. They all do. But Jackie Heinrich, the Fox News senior White House correspondent, she was not happy with the White House's decision to take over the press pool from the White House Correspondents Association, saying this move does not give power back to the people. It gives power to the White House. I will tell you, this is creating quite the uproar all over social media because people like Fox News, we should be embracing Caroline Leavitt and Stephen Chung, the comms director, for doing things, taking the power back away from the leftist media. But don't take my word for it. Let's bring in the great Steve Bannon, the grand poobah of America First and MAGA, who, Steve, I love this idea of Trump taking back the White House, the briefing room, but also the White House Correspondents Association power to pick who's part of the press pool and who gets questions to ask. Your thoughts?
I think it's huge. I try to do this in the first. Term, Eric, and was outvoted, like 10-1. This shows you the boldness, and I think how much President Trump's stepping into these decisions. And Caroline Leavitt's the perfect press secretary to do it. I think it's very powerful. People should know the White House, the White House Correspondents Association has kind of run the deal there for decade after decade after decade. President Trump is taking direct charge of this. It's very powerful. You saw it today in the first time they did it in the cabinet space where they had Newsmax, they had The Blaze, I think they had Daily Signal, had a bunch of alternative voices and streaming services in there asking questions. It was fantastic, sir.
Yeah, it's wonderful that and again, folks need to understand that the White House Correspondents Association is made up by the general media, which is vastly 90+% leans left or is hard left, Steve. So why not take the power back? And like I said, my pass that you guys gave me was pulled the minute Joe Biden got into office.
No, this is huge. You're going to see, and I think President Trump, what I like about this, Eric, is I think he feels much more comfortable now not being attacked nonstop by the mainstream media. He's got a broader, streaming services, podcast, alternative media, the people over at Breitbart. They're asking better questions. They're asking questions to get information, not to attack. And that's why President Trump, I think it was an hour and 20 minutes today in the cabinet room in kind of a question and answer press conference. Today, he's doing executive orders. I think that's been pushed to 5. We'll have it up probably at 5:30 or 6. He's just dominating the information war here. I think it's fantastic, and I think we can expect a lot more to Caroline Leavitt and that team going forward.
Looks great, Steve. I'll hand it off to you. And as always, folks, if you want to learn a lot about everything, watch The War Room with Steve Bannon. Thanks, Steve.
Eric, thank you so much. Honored to do this. Okay, we're going to be going to the White House momentarily. Big afternoon at the White House. Also, Jeremy Brown was released this afternoon, and we're going to go to Jeremy Brown's lawyers. Let's go ahead and play. Let's go bring the show in, and then we'll go to the White House and our White House correspondent, Natalie Winters.
Our goal is not to be capricious or unfair. We want to give people every opportunity to send an email. And the email could simply be, what I'm working on is too sensitive or classified to describe. Like literally just, that would be sufficient. I think this is just common sense.
And what is your target number for how many workers, employees you're looking to cut total?
We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well. But if the job is not essential or they're not doing the job well, they obviously should not be on the public payroll.
I'd like to add, wait a minute. I'd like to add that those million people that haven't responded, though, Elon, they are on the bubble. I wouldn't say that we're thrilled about it. They haven't responded. Now, maybe they don't exist. Maybe we're paying people that don't exist. Don't forget, we just got here. This group just got here. But those people are on the bubble, as they say. Maybe they're going to be gone. Maybe they're not around. Maybe they have other jobs. Maybe they moved. And